Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As always, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. What we're going to do today is get into a bit of a recap, and you'll see I got the whiteboard out here again. I'm drawing a blank on what his name is, Dwayne, I think, from the Retire 500K channel. I can't remember the exact name of the channel, but I see him always using a whiteboard, so yeah, it kind of gave me the idea to start using the whiteboard myself. Seems like a pretty easy way to start getting my information across. So yeah, thanks for the idea there. What I wanted to do is, it's been about 6 months since I quit working, so I just wanted to do a checkup. I've been doing these checkups myself. As I've mentioned, I'm a bit of a spreadsheet enthusiast, so I do have spreadsheets that I've been doing monthly. Basically, I wait for my mortgage to come out. Normally happens within the first few days of a month, and then I kind of tally up where I'm at each month just to keep tabs of things. And I don't think I'll adjust spending too much depending on what goes on, but obviously if we got another 2020 situation where your portfolio was tanking, that would probably have a bit of an influence. But normal stock market fluctuations I don't think will have too big of a bearing. I may turn this into a monthly series. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what the response is from the audience. But what I wanted to get into was basically going over how our finances have changed while I've been off of work and what the net effect of that has been. So up here, I'll try to get this all into the screen so you can get a good look at it. Basically, September 2024, which is when I quit, till now, February 2025, we're closing in on exactly 6 months of me being off of work. And I'll try and change that so that the glare doesn't get it too bad. You can see my phone reflection, but that's fine. And what I wanted to go over was basically just our different accounts and how they've performed and how we are doing overall since we've lost my income. And first category here, the first column, is our cash. As you can see, we are down 62% in our cash. That's not unexpected. That was largely part of the plan. We will withdraw some funds from our investments eventually to replenish this as needed. But basically, since I've quit in September, we've spent over a week out in Canmore and Banff, which, if anyone knows how the mountains are, it's very expensive. Airbnbs, everything you want to do there, very expensive. We definitely blew through some cash that week. We prepaid some trips. My wife went to Mexico. We just got back from 10 days in Portugal. And my wife is also going back to England to visit her family for a couple of weeks in, I don't know, a month or so here now. So we definitely bit the bullet and prepaid some trips out of that right off the hop. So yeah, the cash took a big hit. Now onto our investing accounts. You'll see our TFSAs are up 17%. That is largely investment returns, with topping them up at the start of 2025 as well, the $7,000 limit. I've done mine. My wife hasn't done hers yet. We'll get to that one shortly, probably within the next week or two. It's just a matter of shuffling some money around for her. RRSPs up 14%. That is strictly investment returns. These are all self-directed investing accounts that we've got. So yeah, it's basically we're at the mercy of the markets. Non-registered, you'll see 6% up. We've got cash in that as well. I don't count that in our cash pile because it's in our brokerage account. But yeah, we're up 6% in our non-registered. Lira, which is basically my pension that moved into a locked-in retirement account, that is self-directed as well. You'll see it is basically the exact same as the RRSP because they're invested in the same thing, so that makes sense. My wife's work savings plan, that's invested, but she's also still contributing to it, so that's why you see the 29% jump there. She's still getting a portion of her paycheck removed and put into that, and getting investment returns on top of it, so that kind of makes sense. And then the last one is her pension, which is up about 21%. And again, she's still contributing to that, and she's getting returns on it. So overall, the last column here, we're up 9%. If you can see that clearly there, I'll try and move it in closer so you can get a good look. So yeah, I'll remove the whiteboard now. I just wanted to kind of highlight that, and then I'll give some thoughts on how this has been going. So as you can see, we lost my income. I was the breadwinner in the household, and yet we are still up 9% of our total. I won't call it net worth because, my house isn't involved in that. We have a couple of newer vehicles that are paid off fully and things like that. Like, we do have some other assets that would go. My kid's RESP has actually come out of that cash as well. So that's something that I'm not, I'm taking the loss on my cash, but it is still a household asset. So yeah, like we're riding the market highs right now. And this actually brings me into a concern that we did have, or we currently do have, and that is sequence of return risks. And if you're not familiar with what sequence of return risks are, I won't make an in-depth video on this because there are plenty of resources out there to get the point of it. But the gist is, not all losses are created equally. If you were to take a 20% loss, just as an example, because it is a believable year, if you were to take a 20% loss on your portfolio right after you retire, that is a much more significant loss than if you had taken it, say, 10 years into your retirement after having, a steady decade of 10% returns on average, say, for instance. When you get hit right off the hop, like that, and say 1 or 2 years bad back to back, that compounding loss is devastating on a portfolio and has a much greater impact than a 20% loss later on. Again, there's plenty of videos where you can see demonstrations. There's calculators online where you can kind of forge these things and just see how bad it can get depending on when you experience good years and when you experience bad years. So when you hear things like, oh, I got a 10% average return, that is somewhat useful in a long-term calculation, but the sequence that 10% average is out on is very, very important. So right now we're seeing the positive side of that. We're seeing a good run in the market right off the hop, and that could lull you into a false sense of security because in reality, I've made more through my portfolio in this last 6 months than I likely would have working. That is not always going to be the case. And as I mentioned off the top, I will not be adjusting spending based off this. I'm not looking at my balances and seeing them going up and going, I've got money to burn now. I'm almost feeling the opposite. I'm feeling it's run up. What goes up must come down eventually. Like we are going to see some dark days in the market at some point in time. And as I mentioned in my last video yesterday, we're actually starting to do a bit of a low spend 2025 now that we've paid for our trips. We've done the stuff that we had planned to do when I took the time off of work. Now we are recalibrating with our goals, and we are kind of re-honing in and refocusing on how to be responsible with our money and how to, be more efficient as a household. So again, we're going over our expenses, we're going over our grocery bill, we're seeing where this slippage has occurred, and we're going to tighten up now while things are good. We're not going to wait for things to get bad because at that point it's too late. If just using examples here, but if your household burn rate is say $8,000 or $10,000 a month, you don't want to be burning everything that you're bringing in, and you don't want to be not investing or being like, I have $100,000 in there, the market's doing great, I don't need to keep going with this. You want to be efficient with those dollars so that when the dark days do come and when, the pandemic and things like that happen, like whatever the next thing will be, there will be something where we get, a significant loss in the market. You don't want to wait, or even just in your household, a job loss or a pay cut or anything like that, hours cut back for any reason. You don't want to wait for that moment to come to then say, oh, great, we've got 2 car payments, a mortgage that we were just barely getting by on, we have all these subscriptions going, we've got our kids in the most expensive schooling that we could possibly find, like things like that. You don't want to be in that situation where it's an oh crap moment and you've got to panic and make cuts. You want to have that stuff under control beforehand, and you really want to build your life around have a buffer, have a comfort level there, have some room for error, and have the emergency fund laid out. As I mentioned in my non-registered account, it doesn't perform as well as my TFSA, my RRSP, and those other retirement accounts, because we have a bit of a cash buffer in there where we're getting some fixed income with no risk, so that if things ever went sour, we've bought ourselves a bit of time. It's not years. We're not coasting for 5 years off of that, but it's enough time to find new jobs, to get things back under control, like to figure out what's next, whether I'm filming in a basement right now, do we need to clear this out and get rid of our home gym, get rid of our little office setup and rent this out? Like, it just buys you some time for things like that. And to us, that's very important for your peace of mind. And it prevents you having those plans loosely in place for what would I do if things went bad. I can buy X amount of time through my investments, and then here's the steps that we could take to get things back under control in a timely manner, whether that's 3 to 6 months. Having those plans loosely in place is important for sleeping well at night and for the overall success of your financial plan. So that's where I'll leave you guys off today. Like I said, I just wanted to do a bit of an update because I realized I was closing in on 6 months. If this is something that people are interested in seeing, like the month by month, how our cash is doing, how the portfolio is doing, kind of the emotional side. I don't use exact numbers, and I understand that a lot of people do like to see numbers. I'll use percentages for at least the time being. But yeah, if people are interested in watching this sort of thing and hearing how the emotions go, once you are not working anymore, not bringing in an income, then by all means, make sure to subscribe and follow along. Leave comments if you have any questions or concerns with the video. If you want to know anything else in more detail, I'd love to make a follow-up video if there's demand for it. So anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye-bye.